Hello, Sharon Joe here again from My Woolen Tresses. Last month I did my restart in the month of African American History Month. This month, the month of March, is Women's History Month. So this is the month that we celebrate women's history, and I don't want to. I kind of want to make my definition of African American a little bit bigger. African Americans are, or African America, was something that I had wrote up when I first started blogging, is a definition of all African based people or people of African origin in these Americas. Be you live in Canada, the United States, Mexico, Central America, South America. We are all here because of Middle Passage and that bringing over from Africa through the Atlantic, and they dropped us off all down the eastern seaboard of both of the continents, the North American continent and the Southern American continent. But talking about history, I want to talk about being a slave to your hair, not necessarily slaves how we got here, but being a slave to our hair. Just because we are African Americans, we are not the only people who are slaves to our hair. There are many people who are slave to their hair. One of my favorite shows is The Property Brothers, and one of the twins, if you know the show, is a slave to his hair. He's always making sure it looks a certain way, it's dyed and laid to the side and so forth, and his brother's always teasing him. So, this is a complete negative. This is a white male who was a slave to his hair. Um, but being a slave to our hair in the sense that we are that slave because of how, when slaves were captured, their hair was cut off. And that was that process of eradicating their sense of culture, and having them be slaves and be subservient to the master. In Africa, of course, there are groups that do certain things to their hair, and they're very proud of their hair, and they go about their business and do what they do. But here in this country, that sense of culture in hair is not really something that we really have. It's something that we are regaining now, since we have a lot of people who are going natural. But then again, like I always say, whatever you do to your hair, as long as you do it in love, then keep going and doing what you're doing, if when it makes you happy. Um, Again, this whole thing about being a slave to the hair. Um, my husband, when I was married, was non African American, so he did not necessarily know the culture of African American hair and how we dealt with it. It's really based a lot in shame. And, again, that comes from that thing when they brought us over and they cut the hair off to to eliminate your culture. And they gave us head wraps, and it was given because you had to protect your head from working out there in the fields. And it was, in some places it was mandatory. If you were of African descendant, you had to cover your hair up, and that was really lowering yourself, saying that I can't be who I am. I've got to cover my hair up because my hair is is just not presentable. And that's what it turned into. Your hair is not presentable, but really what it was taking away that which was genetically, culturally you. Um, I used to have this conversation again, going back to the part about my non-African American husband, about hair. And we lived in an apartment building that had a swimming pool, and I didn't go swimming because at the time I had a perm in my hair, and it's just like, oh no, I'm not getting out there. And it was really a joke to him. I was joking with him, but really the basis of what I was coming from was, I'm not getting in that water. Perm and chlorine don't match. You can end up with green hair, hair falling out, and all these other things. And that was something that I was not about to have. I permed my hair and I wanted to keep my hair on my head. So that's what I did. I didn't go swimming. And for a very long time, and I don't even think I own a swimsuit now, even though I've gone natural. I just haven't gone swimming in such a long time that I just don't have a swimsuit. But when I was a kid, I loved to swim. I was one of those fishy kids, always wanted to be in the water. And when we were young and I didn't do my own hair and it was being pressed, The only time we really went swimming normally was when it was time to get our hair washed, because you're going to go swimming, it's going to get wet, you come home, you wash it, and then mom presses it and goes from there. But during the summer months, it was, my mom would just get so angry with us. It's just like, oh God, you guys can't be going swimming. I got to do your hair, all this other stuff like that. So it was, even though I was a kid and I loved to swim, it was something that wasn't necessarily allowed. We weren't allowed to do in the frequency that we wanted to. So we didn't do it. And even as a grown woman, yeah, I didn't swim. I didn't do a lot of swimming. There was a point in my life when, within that range of 20 years of me getting my hair permed, that because of financial reasons, I couldn't go get my hair done. So I had quite a bit of new growth. So at that point, I felt it was safe to go swimming. So I remember I went swimming, and at the time I was married. I went and I got in the pool and I swam all day, and it was just freeing and wonderful and beautiful. But I see now how me going forward, me dealing with my hair and not dealing with it with the mentality of something that I love, the reasons why I did what I did, not swimming and these other things. And it's kind of obvious when you really look at how, when we were brought over here, how the cutting off of hair to stop you from uh, from remembering that which you truly are, to truly breaking a spirit, is to say that we want you, and we're going to show you and make you not be able to represent what you really are, and you just have to follow through and be that slave. Um, um, this I really believe that this really kind of pertains more so to the African American, um, all up, regardless of what language you speak, be you live in Canada, Central America, South America, the United States. Um, I had a coworker when I was working, and she was from West Africa someplace. And I remember when she came in for the job interview, she had hair. And when she came back to work, she was completely bald. And it was just one of these things where, you know what, I'm not worried about my hair. It's going to grow back. Um, Again, not being the slave to your hair like we are here. Here it's all about, this length. I've got this long flowing beautiful hair, and all this other things, things like that, where a lot of some where there are some African women who their attitude toward their hair is, you know what, I'm not going to worry about it. It's going to grow up. I'm going to braid it down. I'm going to braid it down till I I don't want to deal with it anymore, or it is work I don't want to do anymore, or it's to that point where I don't want it to be a certain way, and then I'm going to cut it off and I'm just going to let it go and just be at peace with it. It's normal. You see somebody one day they got, longer hair, where the next day they could be completely, shaven. But we here in this country, no, it just doesn't happen. I think to a certain degree, a lot of women, when they first went natural here in the Americas, they did the big chop, as they called it. And that big chop it's a little bit extensive, because I think what it's doing is it's almost doing the reverse of what they did to us when we got here. When we got here, they cut our hair off to eradicate that sense of culture and identity, where now this big chop, what we're calling it, is doing the reverse. It's the eradicating of that other culture and saying, no, I'm going to just accept me as I am, and my culture and my hair, my genetics, and the whole bit. I myself didn't do it that way. I did it the slow way. There's a couple of ways you could do it. You get to do it really fast by just cutting all your hair off and just going natural and growing it out. Or the way I did it the slow, dragging way, where I just let my hair just slowly grow out. I used to keep my hair in twists And every time I untwist my hair, all that permed hair would just break out, and it was just slowly breaking out and breaking out. And it just broke out until it all broke off, until all my hair was all natural, the way it is now. So, again, this whole thing about being the slave to your hair. Again, it's not something that only we as African Americans are privy to. Anybody can be a slave to their hair, of any type of hair. But the reason why we are slaves to our hair is because of this cultural thing, um, again, coming through Middle Passage, and this turning somebody who has a culture and heritage, removing that so they can become a slave. So, um, no longer slave to my hair, letting it do what it does. And every day, I shouldn't say every day, but I think every year that I have had my hair as it is, it's done something different. It's changing. Um, so I want to thank you for listening, and hope you have a wonderful day, and you come back and hear what else I have to say next week. So thanks again.